So, on your website, you talk about helping clients cut through financial clutter. And you talk about helping successful professionals who might feel overwhelmed. And there's a lot of talk right now in our industry about niching down to a very specific client. I can't wait to introduce you to Knowing Me, Knowing You, the Know Me podcast where the future of financial advice starts with discovery. We're bringing you candid conversations with top industry leaders, innovators, and behavioral finance experts, exploring how wealth managers can deepen client relationships, personalize advice at scale, and drive real business growth. Because clients don't just want financial plans, they want to feel understood. They want to be known. Stay tuned, subscribe, and get ready to transform the way you connect with clients. Know Me, transforming discovery into growth. Today, I am delighted to welcome Edward Karan, founder and managing partner of Aspire Wealth Advisory Group. Edward brings more than 3 decades of experience across private banking, private equity, investment banking, consulting, and wealth management. Most recently, he's served as managing director at Citi Global Wealth, where he helped build and lead wealth at work as a business, advising executives, legal professionals, consultants, accountants, and asset management professionals on some of life's most important financial decisions. After more than 20 years at Citi, Edward launched Aspire Wealth Advisory Group with a mission to help successful individuals and families cut through financial complexity, align their financial decisions with their goals, and create lasting legacies. His approach combines investment management, planning, tax strategy, estate planning, and behavioral coaching into a comprehensive wealth advisory experience. What makes Edward unique is that his impact goes beyond affluent clients and he's deeply involved in financial literacy, pro bono financial education efforts through New York City, and he helps families gain access to financial guidance and planning that would otherwise be out of reach. He's a CFA charter holder, a CFP professional, a Wharton graduate, a board member of the Hebrew Free Loan Society, and a passionate advocate for using financial knowledge as a force for empowerment. Edward, thank you for being on the Knowing Me, Knowing You podcast.
It's great to be here, Marla.
I'm very excited to get started. And we always start with a question about what excites you about the moment we're in, about the future of wealth management.
This is an amazing moment. It's never been a better time to deliver advice that's truly personalized. We were talking, there is a lot of overlap between financial services and health services. My sister's an anesthesiologist. She needs to operate in a specific setting with advanced precision and real-time instruments. Imagine I told you that you can have a doctor would have the equivalent of an MRI machine and a surgical center in their office, and you can just get things done. The equivalent is happening in wealth management. I, as a practitioner now, have access to the most advanced tools, data aggregation, planning, portfolio analysis, budgeting. This is all much more readily available in the wholesale channel and allows me to democratize that to those that we serve. And so it makes and it's only getting better. So it's hugely exciting.
I think that that was such an apt analogy. And there are going to be many of our listeners to whom I have actually sold and used our deck. And in our deck, we literally use the analogy of a stethoscope and an MRI. And we say, wealth management has been using a stethoscope when technology has enabled us to use an MRI. And there are so many different aspects and elements and factors we can learn about our clients in order to help guide them and to make better financial decisions in all aspects of their life. And so I love that you use that analogy of the MRI. And it's funny that we hadn't had that conversation yet, but you brought it right to bear. Well, let's talk a little bit about what led you to launch your own firm. And looking back before you launched Aspire, what were the experiences that shaped your philosophy around what financial advice should look like? And what is it that you're making it really look like within your business?
So I followed a very traditional path. I graduated Wharton and started in corporate finance. I think my path was shaped out by trying to be in the room where complex and high stakes financial decisions are being made. And it sort of progressed first at the institutional level, and now it's the individual level. So I worked in investment banking. I worked in private equity. I then did corporate finance work for a family-owned healthcare service business while helping at that time create an infrastructure for that family to move beyond a spreadsheet and to manage their $100 million of multiple accounts across multiple institutions. This was over 20 years ago. The tools obviously have gotten better. I transitioned to Citi then with the desire to move from the institutional and more transactional world of finance to the personal and relationship world of private banking. And I was at Citi for 20 years, and then I launched Aspire at the end of 2025. And I would say that what has informed me is how I learn from my clients. There is whether you're an attorney, whether you're a consultant, whether you are a banker, you do follow a pretty disciplined approach in how you serve your clients. In my firm, we call it the 3 E's. There is engagement, expertise, and execution. I think you can also refer to as the 3 D's. There's diagnostic, there is discovery, and delivery. And so if you follow a rigorous process where you're discovering pain points, understanding what the win is, you're doing the right diagnostic, gathering information, running data through proven analytical models, and then you're committed to deliver with the right resources, right timelines, communication structures, benchmarks. And so I've always I feel that anyone that has a background in investment banking or corporate finance or institutional finance, I feel that there is a transition from that world to the world of relationship finance that's happening.
Really interesting. And so you're really new into it. You just launched your business in 2025. What is it like, if I can just ask you a somewhat off script question, what is it like to launch a wealth practice from scratch in 2025?
It's hugely exciting. I wasn't looking to do this when I first left Citi. I thought that I would join an existing infrastructure. I didn't think that I could do what I was able to do. I had two key partners, Marla, in helping me make this decision that shaped this. One was an investor group that had already been part of the hedge fund industry and was looking to complement or diversify the balance sheet of one of the lead investors from transactional and very personal, that's supporting the growth of their balance sheet, to an annuity business on the side, which wealth management is. And so between having an investment group that wanted to grow and build something, and then finding an amazing sub-advisor that has supported over $1 billion of client volumes, that offers me leading edge portfolios, advanced tax solutions, access to alternative investments, a disciplined process to integrate with the advanced tech, whether it's Schwab and Orion, and just putting it together. I was surprised. Plus, I did build a business within Citi, and so I'm naturally entrepreneurial. And so I'm there. What people have told me, what took you so long, actually, that have known me at Citi, and so that's a good sign.
Really interesting. So on your website, you talk about helping clients cut through financial clutter. And you talk about helping successful professionals who might feel overwhelmed. And there's a lot of talk right now in our industry about niching down to a very specific client. And so if you were going to paint the picture of your niche client, that person who feels that they have financial clutter. And it sounds like you've got such great experience having worked for this family office 20 years ago and helping them really organize all their assets and figure things out and work through Citi. What is it that you would say that you're doing um, for this? Like, help us paint the picture of your niche client, and then you could talk about how you're introducing value to them.
I would say that we're in an age, whether it's the personal, managing our children, parents, professional, spiritual, and financial. I feel there's overwhelming feelings in every discipline. How that translates into the financial. So what does an unhealthy state look like? It means that papers are piling up. There could be overdue bills. There may even be a lost funds or accounts that you don't know that existed. There's stress, there's anxiety. you know, the ability to react to, let's say, getting a tax return done or a mortgage application, what does that mean for you? Or is that stressful and hard? Or is that, oh, no big deal? And so too much time, I think AI is good, but it gives you a piece of information and not a full picture. And it maybe make you more dangerous. And so that's unhealthy state um, in some degree. And I would say that's the emerging wealth of sort of the 1 to 10 million, Marla, where people are growing, they're earning high, they're starting to really save, but yet they haven't addressed it. I would also add to that that if your $1 or $5 million portfolio still looks like your $10,000 or $50,000 starter portfolio, I may question that and say you haven't evolved. And so healthy means that we're spending less time. We're tracking our net worth like you could track your weight on a scale. It's easy to find. Everything's in its place. It's diversified. It's balanced. People come with concentrated positions, whether it's an ownership stake in their firm. There are people that I find that are families that have stock in the family that keeps passing down and no one addresses that. Now there's great many tools to address that. So that's some degree of the financial picture clutter of where people may be at.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people experience that. They experience that sense of overwhelm. So I think what I read about you, and as we were preparing for this podcast, I saw that you do try to take an integrated approach, including planning, tax, estate, behavioral guidance. That holistic approach is, as we believe at Nomi, absolutely critical to differentiating your business going forward. Why do you think having a holistic approach is important?
So I think everybody instinctively understands that it's important. Um, the industry is not aligned to do that, and um, it's not easy to do that. You have to. I'm interested in portfolio. I'm interested in planning. I love this space. I'm a CFA and a CFP, which shows you that I like going deep on research and investments, but I also like the planning and practicing side. But you have to choose a lane, Marla. And I made that decision that as much as I enjoy looking at the latest private credit or cool tax strategy that's out there, I outsource that to a team that I mentioned. They're spending their time doing all the portfolio work. Then what that does is, and most people don't, at a lot of places, they actually, the financial advisor acts as the investment portfolio person too. You cannot spend the time going deep on clients. I'd rather be on the side of the table and feel like my clients treat me as an extension of their family so that I have all these other resources that I'm using on their behalf. But you have to leverage technology. And then once you do that and you know what you're doing and you have the right tools for the right solution. So spreadsheets that I've developed solve for portfolio analysis. I'll use Orion and their planning tool and to do a dynamic financial plan with integrates already with the client portal and their information. And then I'll use, let's say, Monarch or a budgeting tool, which is different than a planning tool that allows them to track. And if you have the right tools and you introduce them and it all comes together, then you can get a holistic view. And then if you have insurance and tax and legal people on speed dial, and that you've already prepped them, that they should act as an extension of your team, then you're in the game and you can deliver that with a boutique firm.
So that's an interesting point that you raise about legal, tax, maybe insurance agents, maybe mortgage brokers, maybe bankers. How do you see the client advisor relationship shifting so that it becomes much more integrated? We used to call them the centers of influence, right? All of the different financial partners that an individual might be working with. Do you see those, the lines between them blurring, where advisors want to actually have partnerships that deliver those exact products themselves? Or do you see that it's becoming more integrated and you have more of those relationships on hand, as you said, that you can just call?
Well, the vendors have done an amazing job, Marla, of already creating the technology that makes you feel integrated. So the leading edge insurance firms are the leading edge, at least on the sub 25 million net worth, on the trust and estate. I mean, there is turnkey machine learning that will get the information you need, do the discovery with you or for you, and all the models exist. Do you want to have the client lead it? Do you want to lead it? Do you want to do it with them? And so I was surprised, and I ask questions when I find something that does what you just asked, Marla. When I find something that, wow, this makes me feel like part of the team, I always ask, how long have you had this? And inevitably, the answer is less than 18 months. And it shows you that there's been a shift, that because of the growth in the industry, the people that want to be behind the advisor and want to get access to the client are really doing a great job of making it easy and make them feel like they're an extension of me, just like I'm trying to make myself feel like an extension of my client.
Yeah, I think it makes sense. I actually, we talk a lot at NOMI about this kind of evolution toward holistic advice and how really knowing much more about your client and their household is the key to differentiating the way that you are building a business and the way that you're creating those relationships. One of the things that we see is also it's probably going to continue to expand. So it's going to go beyond the financial products and into healthcare, travel, education. Those are all really, really big decisions. And you really only know enough about an individual if you tap into that part of them in order to extend into that additional expanding value as a financial advisor. When you're working with clients today, and as you're building your business, I'm sure you're meeting people all the time and really talking about Aspire and how you're differentiating. What are their key problems? What are their blind spots? And how are you telling them the story of their own scenario so that they understand the value of wealth management?
So I'll tell you that there is a behavioral blind spot that I noticed serving consultants and lawyers. And I've noticed three, and at some point I want to write something on this. But the three behavior, and by the way, it's always the same thing that makes you great. Your biggest asset is also your potentially biggest liability. And so, for example, most the billable hour construct serves a role. People bill, and lawyers now, we talked about how the billable hour is in the thousands for top firms, and top lawyers are doing quite well. The challenge with the billable hour model is sometimes people see their hours in their balance sheet. And because of that, if it goes down, they see hours being lost. And so that's one behavioral thing, that too much focus on the billable hour, you see hours, your hours accumulated in that money. The second is these people tend to be very smart. They can handle a lot of complexity. Sometimes too much complexity is not healthy in getting your house in order. The perfect can be the enemy of the good. And you have to challenge people to, you don't have to get the Roth conversion question now. That is not a $5 million decision, or even a $10,000 decision, maybe. And so you have to know how to address complexity. And then, I don't know, more so on the litigation side, I've seen this. Lawyers get paid to focus on downside. And so what makes that a skill set is they instinctively know where risk is. It's not healthy in your personal balance sheet. And so those three biases will lead to maybe an overaccumulation of cash, inertia, because you don't want to touch the money, or that you just won't act until everything is perfect. And so in every culture and area, you have to understand the behavioral biases. Those create blind spots, and those are qualitative. The quantitative blind spots, I think, are just that, people will have not thought through some things around gaps in, and not funding the thing that the lawyer told them to do. I find that there's a blind spot between ideas and execution. I love being able to execute. I'm on a platform. I can get the docs. You can open the account. I can move the money. I'm registered. I'm licensed. I can do that. There's with great responsibility, but it gives me power to really make things happen. You want to gift the money? I got it taken care of. You want to fund your trust? We can do that. So those are
That
some examples.
I love that you kind of tapped right into kind of two very clear personas, and you can really paint that picture. You can understand why they're experiencing that blind spot. And so you have grown really rapidly since 2025. You've got over 100 million in assets.
Not
We have a
yet, not
lot,
yet,
not
hopefully.
yet. You're growing quickly in any
Yes.
case. And I think there's a lot of advisors that listen to this podcast that are curious to understand how are you growing? How, especially organically, net new. This is not necessarily you're building a brand new business from scratch. And so, you're kind of building clients and it's not going to come from referrals. You have to start from, hey, I've launched this new business and join me. And so you clearly have a really good leg up in that you understand the nuance of a lawyer or a consultant, and you can actually talk to them in those terms and say, hey, here's your blind spots, lawyer or consultant guy or girl. Here's how I can help you. What else have you learned about growing and applying everything you've learned in all of your history to launching a really viable, growing business?
I'm very strategic. I've launched a business within Citi that catered to consulting firms. It was an outgrowth of their focus on law firms. And so I started that business with less than 100 clients and built that to over 5,000 clients. And for Citi, it wasn't big, 5 billion of volumes in banking, lending, and investments. But in the personal world, that's actually, that's pretty a nice sized RIA. Now, I'm not replicating that in any near term, but um, the to be very specific, Marla, I've been pleased that I've gotten three types of referral sources that I feel I could continue to grow from, and that's my business development. There's one that's I've served clients over 20 years. Some of them may have appreciated what I've done and may want to sort of reach out once they heard and say, can we think about you? Okay, so that's one group of people, which is ideally there could be some former clients that um, um, may still want me as their advisor. The second group is people in the community. I'm involved in synagogues, philanthropy boards, and you meet people with just by being and sometimes someone will say in your chat and you'll learn about that. And so everyone wants to be part of some club or some community, and you want to leverage those networks that are personal. You'll find me often at the Pen Club these days. I joined. I like that environment. And then the third is LinkedIn, Marla. If you are strategic about LinkedIn and you're posting, I just had my most recent client that said, I'm coming to you because I've been following you on LinkedIn and you've been top of mind and you should continue doing that. It was that direct. And so social media allows you to do things differently. Um, I was going to have to grow whether I was going to be myself or part of a large institution. If you're on the sales side, it's the same thing. You have to have a discipline around business development, building pipeline, leading. And so I take that same discipline that I managed a large team and bringing it to just me and trying to hold myself accountable. And hopefully it'll continue to grow. And now I have a big belief in the growth between 100 million and a billion. There's a lot of practices that are lifestyle practices that do not do the things that they need to do to scale effectively, and some of their infrastructure is actually a liability and not an asset. And so if you're building, I have an advantage in some respects starting new, honestly, because I could build the firm of the future without having any baggage. I don't have to integrate any data. I'm starting with advanced CRM, advanced tools, and doing it from the start. So I think in some respects there's advantages, but there's challenges as well. I'm a new firm. People may be biased to a large institution. There are a lot of people out there that still
Or
have
again,
that. What was that? Or
or
against,
against.
right?
Yeah.
And so it's I love it. I'm tend to have a little attention deficit, which allows me to sort of multitask and try a lot of different things at once. And I don't mind being chief compliance officer, chief operating officer, chief financial, like wearing the hats of starting a business and then figuring out as I hire and grow to scale some of those things.
I love it, and I think that we recently recorded an episode with Mark DeBurgeon, and he talked a lot about just the mindset of those that are building wealth practices, and many of them are what we'll call just kind of sole practitioner entrepreneurs. They're living legacy businesses, and then there's the growers. There are those that actually want to build a growing, viable business for many years to come.
I
Um,
annoy my team constantly. Every time I do something, I'm like, this is what is this? What is the scalable process around this? What is the step that we're on? What's the prior step? What's the next step? Let's change it. Let's modify this so that everybody knows that there is a turnkey process here that you're following.
What if financial planning wasn't just about numbers, but about you, your values, your goals, your vision for the future? Nomi is transforming client discovery for wealth managers, going beyond assets and risk scores to uncover what truly matters. With behavioral insights and real time data, Nomi helps advisors personalize advice, build deeper connections, and grow their businesses. Because the best financial decisions start with knowing you. Discover the future of client engagement at Nomi.com. I'm curious how you're experimenting with AI in that regard. So you've got brand new business, you're able to choose your own technology, your own tools. How important is that interoperability and where does AI play a role?
Um, I, for now, when it comes to sensitive client data that exists either at the custodian or in the client portal, I want to run a closed system. And so I run a pretty tight integrated model that doesn't allow outside interference, that has my all my reporting and client portal and access linked directly to the custodian, and then just making sure that the data is delivered in the right way within those ecosystems. And I would say that AI is built in more within those systems to make it easier to learn, to navigate, to improve, to develop. AI is the best help desk that anyone could ask for in starting a business because you're trying new things. Wait, what's this function on QuickBooks to do this? And what's this fun? I mean, just it's a better help desk. And so it's a great first ghostwriter. If I want to put content out, then tell it to change a draft. And so there are so many ways that it is enhancing our productivity. But and then of course note taking, of course, like and summarizing notes. That's key. I mean, that's table stakes at this point. To save you so much time on pre or post client prep. That's where all the time, please. I think Michael Kitches, I think that's his study, that most of the productivity lost is the pre and post of a meeting. And that's the huge gain. And so AI is playing a huge role of giving information at your fingertips and then disseminating it quickly to where it needs to go.
Love it. So I'm going to use this as the launch pad into maybe our final topic before we close. So when we talk about AI, and this is where I think, what we're building at Nomi really plays a role. The whole hypothesis is that AI is just it's a compute tool. It is, maybe we had a spreadsheet, we had different calculators back in the day and whatever it is. So AI is a compute tool and it's fuel. It is fed on data. And our premise at Nomi is that you get a lot of good data. In fact, if you've got a meeting note taker, you're learning a lot in the meeting. There's additional information you might not know. And the client or the prospect might not even know how to tell you. And so that's really where Nomi comes in. We actually guide people to create and really manufacture data for advisors to create better, deeper connections and close their business and grow and align. One of those bits of data that's really critical is we really tap into their values. We help them understand, what does a good life look like? What does it mean for you? And for you, you have been very involved. I love that you shared that you're involved on all these boards and you use that also as a business development angle. How are you approaching, I guess, the growth of your business, looking at the alignment between values and what you're delivering from wealth management and really empowering individuals to lead better, more fulfilling lives?
Wow. Okay. There's a lot to unpack there.
Yes, there was a lot. I was trying to
Values.
transition neatly from AI
y-
to values.
So listen, I gave um, once prepared an address around the holiday of Passover. And um, what's interesting that people overlook that's not on the Seder table is money. But if you follow the text, it's very explicit that when the Israelites or the Jewish people left Egypt, there is a command to take money with them. And people overlook that. Why is it in the foundational part of the nation was money part of all the discussion? And it shows you that money is so much tied into freedom and how you treat money. Is it an idol or is it something that's a tool? And so how you associate and built into the text was an implicit message that says that we have to be thinking about this, that we have to be anchored in our foundational story as people, as a nation. Is one way to understand that is how does this culture look at money? And so I'm very interested in the discussion of money and values and pushing us to um, treat it as holy as it should be, and stewards of that. And I always look at that in a way that says, okay, let's untether this and let's assume that you were given the same amount of money, but it didn't have the structure that you have. Would you do the same thing or not? That's one way of uncovering sort of just you're not locked in on something. If there's other questions. If you were given 10 times the wealth that you have, would you do anything differently? And so you have to push people to really uncover their motivations because as someone that's serving people, you want to get to what a win is and what success is. And sometimes it's not so clear. And sometimes it'll change. Sometimes you're just so focused on the pain points that they don't have a vision of the upside. They're just focused on being drowned in the present. And so that's actually why I called my firm Aspire in some degree. The word spire is the same root as perspire, respite, breathe. And so the goal is that people should get towards breathing. And just to sort of that breath of sort of like, when your home is in order and everything's in its place, just when things are just where they need to be. And so, of course, AI could play a role in that. And I think your tools that you're developing are phenomenal. Anything that can insert and make that gap between the present chaotic structures and turn that into real meaningful. I mean, it's turning data into information at the end of the day. Data is just data, and information is something that you can make a decision. And so we are in the data business. I really believe it. Wealth management is all about how do you manage data well, and then turn that into information that people can make some of the most important decisions for their lives. And so I'm very interested in this. I anchor, and I'll give you one extra vignette because I've been doing coaching in the faith-based community as well. And what I find is that, again, there are certain values that serve people well, but can also be a detractor in wealth. So, for example, people that are very committed to a relationship with God or something, I find that there is sometimes a capacity to be okay with where things are at because it's sort of your divine station. The challenge in that is in sort of the traditional world that I grew up in. And there's an extreme on this where you always want to get to the next track. I want to get to partner. I want to get to there. There's two extremes there, but there is a healthy degree of sort of saying your family expenses are growing. And maybe that should be a challenge for you to have broader capacity that the station that you're at is not the station where you need to be. And I find in the community, that's one challenge that I find that sometimes people are too okay with the station that they're in. I don't want to change it. I like my boss. I like my hours. And you have to get out of that comfort zone. That's a discussion. The other one is, which is unique again to the community, is everyone lives close in walking distance to a synagogue, which means that in the synagogue, on the same pew, you can have a billionaire and someone that's on Medicare or food stamps or something, sitting at the same row. The challenge that creates is that from a values perspective, you have to face people that have more than you on a daily basis. which impacts sort of just family dynamics. Whereas opposed in other communities, you may be insulated and be too much associated with the same economic class. And so all of these things inform really the culture that you're in, the people that you associate with you with, and the traditions that you've been grown up with. All of these things shape the values discussion, as well as the behavioral biases that we talked about in certain professions. That also is a reflection. It's amazing if you can help to streamline that and tag that for people to elevate that discussion quicker.
And yeah, really help them activate the money to achieve something with it. To like if the goal is not money and the goal is what am I going to do with it? What is my impact? What is my purpose? And how am I making sure that my money is a tool as opposed to the goal in and of itself? Really powerful messages. We always end our podcast with a question of what is one instance in your life or a conversation you've had that has changed your personal relationship with money?
So this is personal. When I started my firm, um, my family was the first client. I wasn't doing things for my own, and my wife and my parents, they were coming on board. I feel so happy that I consolidated my parents' financial life. And they did all of the homework. They sometimes they drove to the bank to close the account. They went to the old employer sponsor to roll over that IRA, that sponsored plan into a consolidated IRA that I set up with them. We did the financial plan. I even went so far and looked at their balance sheet with an unencumbered house. And I said, for you, having a home equity actually makes sense. Why should you worry that you can't touch the home, which is your biggest balance sheet? Let's create a home equity. Worst case, my sister and I will inherit a home equity and it's fine. Like just live and don't worry about the cushions. And so it's very personal when you're able to take care of those that you want to take care of. And so I'm doing exactly. I'm participating in the opportunities that I'm offering my clients that are pretty cool, sometimes in the private markets. And so I love it so much that I made it available to my family, and I'm passionate about this and I wanted to build something, and I feel good and that they've set up and that my and they're everyone knows where everything is. Everyone knows where they're going. Everyone knows what they're worried about in terms of just they get sick and something can happen and they can't afford all the care that's required. I mean, the things that come up. And we talked about it. My parents are quite open. They're very transparent about things. They're not afraid to share anything, which makes it very easy. They'll tell you exactly what they've done, where their documents are, where their burial plots are. And so it's personal. It's very personal for me, Marla, that I it shows you that my family starts first and then I extend it hopefully to clients that hopefully will treat me like their family.
Edward, thank you. Clear your passion comes through, your values come through, your commitment to actually serving your clients, your family, your community have all shown through in our recording. Thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your perspective. Your long career in our industry demonstrates that wealth management at its best is when it helps clients simplify complexity, make better decisions, and connect their financial resources to the lives that they want to build. If any of our listeners are interested and would love to connect with you, learn a little bit more about you, about how you commit your time, where can they learn about Aspire Wealth Advisory Group?
Sure. The website is aspirewealthadvisorygroup.com. There's a LinkedIn page under it, Aspire Wealth
It'll
Advisory
be
Group.
in
There's
the
also,
show notes. It'll be in the show
yes.
notes as well.
Okay.
Fantastic. And on LinkedIn, just Edward Karan on LinkedIn. Okay.
Yes.
Well, fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing with our community about where you are, how you're growing your business in these early days, and what it's like to build trust and take all of your past financial all of your past experience and success and apply it into this new entrepreneurial adventure. For our listeners, financial success is not always just about accumulating wealth. It's about creating clarity, confidence, alignment between your money and your purpose, understanding your blind spots, recognizing that, as Edward said, your biggest strength may also be your biggest liability. I think there was a lot of good snippets here that you can take away and apply into your own financial relationships. What is one financial decision you've made that brought you closer to the life you truly want? Let us know if you appreciated this conversation. Please like, share this podcast with people who may want to hear it. And Edward, thank you so much for being with us today. Thank you for joining us on the Knowing Me, Knowing You podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who needs to hear it. And don't forget to subscribe, rate, and review. Your support helps us bring more transformative conversations to you. Until next time, keep discovering, keep growing, and remember, you're in control of your own financial story. Follow us for more conversations on financial confidence, self-discovery, and the future of money.